Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals at your service from NAI NP Dodge Commercial Real Estate. We are the only show in the metro area designed to keep you informed about business growth, real estate, construction, restaurant and retail news, things related to Omaha becoming more vibrant and prosperous. We are brought to you by D&M Roofing and Siding, as well as Dingman's Collision Center. My co-host this week is Jorge Sotolongo, substituting for Trenton Magid, who has the weekend off. Jorge, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's always good to have you as guest co-host.
It's just hard to fill Trenton's shoes. That's the problem.
It is. The man is a living and walking legend, and since he's not here to hear that, we can talk about it and not have to worry about him.
Can we say where he is?
Fat-headed. I don't think we're supposed to.
Well, he's on vacation.
He's on vacation. People
in a really
take
nice
vacations
place.
Every once in a while. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
He'll probably, when he comes back, disclose and divulge where he went.
He's got a lot of stalkers, so we can't divulge.
That's true. That kind of does. I mean, people just think, they follow him, and he's kind of legendary. Kind of does. All right, we've got a new title sponsor for our Grow Omaha Weekly Market Report. We just refer to it as newsletter for short, but it is the offices at Turner Park. Basically, you know Midtown Crossing, the amazing development on the east side of Mutual of Omaha. Well, the north building that at one time had Cantina Laredo and a few other bar restaurants, that has been converted into, on the ground level, the offices at Turner Park. It's like really cool, super nice office project. Visit Omaha, which is the local tourism and convention board. They'll be moving into one of the spaces in January, but several of those other spaces remain overlooking the park. Beautiful. So we're really excited to have the offices at Turner Park, new title sponsor of our Grow Omaha newsletter. And speaking of which, if you don't get it, just go to growomaha.com, sign up for it, or send an email to news@growomaha.com, and we'll sign you up for it if you do that. One thing to keep in mind, it comes out every Thursday, and we periodically have some people who say, I signed up for the newsletter, I don't get it, or I was getting it, and I'm no longer getting it. It's probably going to your junk or spam file. We send it out to more than 13,000 people, and so when you send out these things by bulk, a lot of systems will flag it as junk and spam, even though it's certainly not junk or spam. So we hope you participate in that newsletter and enjoy it. Jorge, are you ready for the news?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. It's brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, EagleMortgageCompany.com. They know mortgages like nobody knows mortgages. And a lot of times people, when they hear us talk about Eagle Mortgage, say, okay, what's this thing? Eagle Mortgage Brokerage. They're a mortgage broker. Why do I go to a mortgage broker instead of just going to my local bank? Well, on average, mortgage brokers save homeowners $9,000 over the life of a loan compared to retail lenders or banks. In fact, in 2021, the average borrower savings was $9,407 between upfront cost savings and interest savings. So you get a better deal if you go through a company like Eagle Mortgage, EagleMortgageCompany.com. All right, Jorge, we've got some projects that made it through City Council approval this week. The first one is a 5-story building planned for the southeast corner of 48th and Dodge. This thing's huge, 329 apartments. And what's cool about it is it's another density project along the Orbit line.
That's an incredible project. I know it's been many, many years in the making in terms of acquiring pieces, and it's finally come all together. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, and that will also include the historic Pittman building at 4629 Dodge Street. It will be integrated into the building. The other couple of commercial buildings around that will be removed, including, thank God, a former gas station right there in the corner, which is just a terrible eyesore.
Yeah, no, they chose to keep the coolest building, and that building will be the leasing office of the apartment, I understand. And it's kind of right at the corner, so it's great that they're keeping that. It's a cool mid-century building.
Agreed. Now, if we go up to North Omaha, we can talk about a project at 30th and Bristol Street. It's going to be called Kennedy Square East. It won approval this week from the City Council. Plans call for mixed-income apartments in a 4-story building to be constructed on a 6-acre site. The cool thing about this, Jorge, is it replaces an old public housing complex.
This is one of 2 complexes that we are getting rid of in the very near future in Omaha, and it's a good step forward toward that next step of affordability and mixed income communities. So this, alongside with Southside Terrace in South Omaha, and we got some good news about that. Some good money coming towards that project to renovate and demolish and then build new mixed use income communities. So those are 2 of the probably worst properties in Omaha. So I'm glad to see them sort of being upgraded and enhanced.
Huge progress for our city to get rid of problematic complexes that have not only outlived their usefulness, but probably were problematic from the moment they build them, and do something that is so much better and will provide such higher quality housing for Omaha. It's pretty cool stuff. Hey, if we go out to Gretna, a lot of people have been asking us over the last month. I mean, we probably get a good 5 emails a week from people saying, what are they doing south of Nebraska Crossing? They're moving all this dirt around there. Well, that big project is called Gretna Logistics Park. It's going to be 170 acres, an industrial development, and the first building will be about 400,000 square feet. It'll be a speculative warehouse, meaning that being built without guaranteed tenants, no problem, because they'll get them fast.
Yeah. It's amazing how these large warehouse spaces get just snatched up quick before they even hit the market sometimes.
Oh, it's insane. And it used to be that, if you built a 150, 300,000 square foot industrial building in Omaha on a spec basis, you were crazy. Now you're just putting inventory on the shelves, which people are going to grab.
Now those are just the office guys.
Those are the office guys.
Sorry.
He said it, not me. The second building that will be built out at Gretna will be 300,000 square feet. There's room for a few more. So altogether, there'll probably be a few million square feet of warehouse space there. So again, that's south of Nebraska Crossing, west of the Flying J truck stop at the Interstate 80 Highway 31 interchange. Also, Jorge, Opus is building what to me looks like it's got to be 250,000, 300,000 square foot warehouse in Council Bluffs, right along the river. It's just a little bit north of Interstate 80, east of Interstate 29, and south of Ameristar Casino. So that's just been an empty, flat space there forever, and all of a sudden, boom, 300,000 square foot warehouse going in there.
That's amazing. I'm going to go look at that. I have to go to Council Bluffs after this, actually, to look at another warehouse.
Another warehouse.
Yeah. So.
And they fill them all up. The NAI NP Dodge and commercial real estate report for the third quarter will be coming out this week. And it'll tell you, because I worked on it, the industrial vacancy for the third quarter is like 2.7, 2.8%. That's
amazing. So I actually ended up seeing some other reports from different sources this week and talking to some direct brokers, industrial brokers, and they say it's closer to 2.
Really?
Potentially. So we've got multiple reports here saying we're in the 2s, low 2s, maybe even under that, which is unprecedented.
And it's kind of dangerous from an economic development perspective, because so often companies will, contact commercial real estate firms, or they'll contact the economic development officials at the chamber and say, we'd love to come to your city. We want 250,000 square feet and we want to, start occupying it next quarter. Well, that's been almost impossible in our area.
We better get those people a list of all the new projects so they know what to talk about instead of the, bleak vacancy rate that we have.
We need to keep building, that's for sure. We need to keep building. All right, let's go back downtown. The City Council approved tax increment financing for a 111-year-old building known as the Keyline Building, the 319 South 17th Street. Jorge, that building, really cool building when you look at it from the outside. Classic downtown building, office
Definitely.
Upstairs, retail ground floor.
Just been needing a little refresh for a long time. That's the one with the Takeshi jewelry store at the bottom and the back line, which is a great kind of kind of underground comedy club.
I've never been there, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun place. So yeah, I'm excited to see what it's Mike Moylan, I believe, doing that project. Yeah,
Shamrock
I'm
Development.
excited to see what they do with that. So.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Shamrock Development did the Capitol District. They did the Paxton Building, several other projects. So they'll do a good job with it. We have more demolition progress at the W. Dale Clark Library. Now, if you go by it, you won't see a ton because. They're doing internal demolition. They have to kind of recycle a lot of the metal that's in there. But I walked by on one of my Grow Omaha tours earlier in the week, and through the windows, you could see debris falling through an internal hole from floor to floor. So they're getting it. They're getting it started.
Well, that's great. I noticed that the lot to the east of it is empty. So they haven't used that. I guess they're going to use that for lay down space and for material and vehicles and parking.
Construction worker parking right now. I've noticed when I was down there during the work day this week, there were all sorts of cars for the people working on the site.
We've made it a kind of a habit to get out to the park every Friday when we pick the kids up from daycare, and it's pretty clean and everything. I wonder what it's going to be like when they finally start taking that building down,
A little dusty. You might have a little bit of a dust problem. Well, regular listeners know that Jorge is a member of the Omaha Planning Board. So we're going to talk about a couple of projects that went through Planning Board this week. The first one is at 30th and Leavenworth. It's directly south of the Triangle Apartments. Going to be an $18.1 million project. 4-story building, 73 market rate apartment units, 51 indoor parking stalls, studio 1, 2, 3 bedroom units. Going to begin construction next April and complete by July of 2024. Jorge, this is an infill spot that we've needed because except for one little building, it's mostly just empty.
It's been vacant. It's been a blighted area in the neighborhood for quite a while. There's an existing tattoo shop. They've actually already relocated, so the building's vacant. This is the time to do it. I'm glad to see that they actually got some underground parking, that the numbers worked for that, because that's been very difficult to obtain as of late. So it's a good project for that area, and it's not displacing anybody, which is great.
And creating a lot of nice density in the neighborhood, which already has pretty good density and a lot of newly renovated and constructed buildings. Any other projects on the planning board that you want to highlight this week, Jorge?
I was still seeing a fair amount of subdivisions getting through. So new construction, new home construction, and maybe our guest Jill can talk a little bit about that later, but it seems like we're still getting new homes built and planned for the future, which is good for Omaha, especially with the recent news, and all the fluctuations. You wonder how long that's going to last, but it's good to see that we still have healthy single-family construction, and that they're not all being bought to rent by big, large corporations. So,
which is common these days.
Which is common. So let's keep that going, and a lot of them are local people, which is great too. But yeah, we've got a little project on North 24th that I think is pretty fun. It's a mixed-use building. I believe they're going to do a communal kitchen and a food concept on the first floor. 3 apartments upstairs. It's an old building, so it's getting renovated. I think it's just a great example of sort of the public-private partnership that we've got going on North 24th Street with the Forever North project and some of the other focused development programs that are happening out there. And it's just, the local community being able to sort of put a project together that renovates a existing, historic building with new units that are affordable and some commerce. So I hope we can replicate that a lot, and, props to everybody for being able to put that together.
And that is your news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. You can find them in person at 114th and Davenport Street. We're going to take our first break of the hour, and when we come back, we're going to bring on Jill Anderson. She is president of NP Dodge Residential Sales Division, and she's going to talk to us about the residential market. A lot of change, but still a lot of activity in the residential market. You don't want to miss any of that. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Jorge Sotolongo, substituting for Trenton Magid on Grow Omaha, brought to you by D&M Roofing and Dingman's Or rather, it's actually D&M Roofing and Siding. Lately, we haven't been saying siding. It's D&M Roofing and Siding and Dingman's Collision Center. We'll be back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show, Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Like I said, they also do siding, not just roofing. And they work all over the Omaha metropolitan area. They actually have services in Des Moines, Iowa as well. So they've really kind of spread out, and they do an outstanding job. You can find them at dndmroofing.com. That's dndmroofing.com. Jorge Sotolongo is in studio, substituting for the vacationing Trenton Magid. And we are now going to bring on a good friend of ours and a colleague, Jill Anderson. She is president of NP Dodge Residential. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming back to the show. And I want to start off with the 30,000-foot view. Where is the single-family housing market right now? What's going on out there?
Well, and that's a great question. You know, if you watch the national news, you're probably going to panic a little, and you shouldn't. We are definitely in a shift. I think the last time I was here, it was really during the pandemic, and there was probably buyers who had shed some tears because they had written multiple offers on homes and may not have gotten them. Sellers were, probably pretty happy. It shifted. And, what caused that shift? Well, you were talking about earlier with commercial inventory, but the residential inventory was lower. We needed to allow builders a chance to get caught up. But, of course, the feds adjusted the interest rate. So that caused some buyers to pause and say, wait a minute, am I getting caught up in this frenzy? We actually, I read an article recently that 53% of buyers who purchased a home in 20 or 21 regret their purchase. And maybe they got caught up in the emotion of it. Maybe they just felt like, I absolutely have to buy it now. These rates are so low. But it's the old saying, you date the loan, marry the house, because you can always go refinance. So back to your question, we are at a shift. In our Omaha market right now, the period where we're at right now versus last year at the same time, our inventory is actually up about 33%, which is good. But we're still down in inventory. And we are talking about the new construction home building going on. That has to continue. Rates, of course, have moved up. But, if they move up again and you locked in and purchased, great. You made a good decision. If they happen to go lower, you can refinance. So it's just a reason to say people always need a home. It's shelter. It's your sanctuary to go home to at the end of the day. So let's not panic and let's just keep moving forward.
That's a staggering figure, though. 50% people regret their purchase.
Right.
I actually, I purchased in 21. I didn't plan to. It was one of those things where it worked better for my family. I certainly don't regret it.
Good.
I think it was a good time because I got the low interest rate and everything. But definitely it's been a really interesting dynamic. So I really wonder how it's going to play out in the next 12 to 18 months as well, to see if there's more inventory or not.
Well, the stealing from MOBA, our local Metro Omaha Builders Association, they were stating that once rates went above 6%, builders would probably back off. Well, yesterday rates for a 30-year conventional were above 7%. So, we do not want builders to back off. But, of course, they're going to build upon the buyer's demand. We don't want to go back to what happened in 2008, 2009 when there was an oversupply of homes. Some builders went out of business. They had oversupply. Buyers weren't there. So that's not what we want to get to. But when that happened, to go back to those years, there was an oversupply. So it kind of, we turned the faucet off. Well, then we never turned it back on, and I act like I'm a builder. I'm not. But it was never turned back on to the production levels to catch up to what happened during the pandemic. So supply-wise, houses are selling. We've got about a 1.5 month supply of inventory. That's low. A neutral market is 3 to 6 months. And once it hits over 6 months, they say it's a buyer's market. Again, we're at 1.5. So we still need that supply. And I think you were saying it too in that commercial world. Keep it coming. We need it. It's just, getting those buyers to understand too, that house that they may have been able to afford at a 3% interest rate last year, well, the interest rate has doubled. So there's some adjusting that needs to happen.
And
You might have to adjust your perspective
Correct.
and your expectations given the interest rate increase.
Yeah.
So Jill, we're speaking with Jill Anderson, president of NP Dodge Residential Sales. We were talking earlier, you and I off air, that for the first time in a long time, I've recently noticed for sale signs in my neighborhood, because it wasn't that long ago where no one bothered to put one up because you could sell it so fast. And they're still selling, but maybe it's taking a few weeks. But interestingly, Jorge and you live in kind of the same area, and you guys were saying that there were a couple houses that sold in your neighborhood that still went over asking price.
Right.
So it's still
healthy.
hot market.
Yeah. It's still real. You have, everyone has to be realistic though as well. And I have always used the term, and maybe it's getting old, but it's always a price war in a beauty contest. So the houses that are priced appropriately, the ones that show well, are going to be the ones that get the offers. And, of course, if someone's living in the past, a seller's living in the past and thinking, well, hey, my neighbor sold their house for $60,000 over in 20 minutes. That could have happened, but our market has shifted. So they really need to have that educated information right now and have that kind of gut check to say, is that possible?
Even on our side as commercial agents, setting expectations is so important for your client. And so that's definitely a part of the job of the agent to be able to speak to that and make sure sellers are up to date on their expectations.
Absolutely.
To offer another perspective here, I was in California not too long ago, and just to offer a comparison here, the San Francisco housing market is down and going down, down, down. I mean, it's amazing to see how long homes are sitting on the market, what kind of homes are sitting on the market, and the price cuts they're having to take.
Right.
Several $100,000s. It's unbelievable. So there is a contrast still, I think, between the coast and Omaha. Do you still see that dynamic playing out in the future, or are we still buffered like we thought we were back in the day?
I think, luckily, yes, Omaha is always one of those communities that we're not in those coastal areas, so we don't see the big highs and lows. For home equity gains, last year, I think the average was around like 13% of gain in home equity. That's huge in a year. We're used to 3 to 4%. So what economists are predicting going forward is more in that coming back to that 4 to 5% gain in equity. You're not losing money; you're still gaining money. But then back to the people going out to buy a house right now, the sellers are like, "Well, I'm losing money on my house." It's like, no, you have to remember what you bought it for. You actually have gained money. You may just not get that $60,000 I was talking about a minute ago. It might be $10,000 over, or you may get list, or you may not get list. But it's that education part of it.
I guess we have to inspect homes again.
Yeah, those are coming into play.
Inspections.
A lost art is coming back.
Right.
We're talking about the residential housing market with Jill Anderson, president of NP Dodge Residential. We're going to take our break for the news. And when we come back, more with Jill. We have several things we want to talk to her about residential housing and single-family housing sales. So stick with us. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Jorge Sotolongo. Trenton Magid has the weekend off, and we are on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals here, sitting next to Jorge Sotolongo from NAI NP Dodge, my good friend and colleague. He is filling in for the vacationing Trenton Magid this week. The show is brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing. And speaking of Dingman's Collision Center, if you ever have the unfortunate incident that happened to you out on the roads, highways, and byways, and you get a fender bender or worse, definitely use Dingman's. There are a lot of body shops out there, but you won't find a better one when it comes to quality of workmanship and customer care and service. 4 metro area locations, Dingman's Collision Center. It's time, Jorge, for our commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, brought to you by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies is one of the premier developers in the Midwest, and really you could even say the nation. They're based right here in Omaha, and in the metro area they have projects like Exarban Village, Village Point Medical Center, Builders District downtown. We're going to talk about 2 of their other projects. The first one is Steel Ridge, and Jorge, this is the one that's at Interstate 80 and Highway 370.
Yep.
And H&H is building not just a dealership, kind of like a dealership complex out there. And if you drive by on the Interstate 80 freeway right now, you'll see that is going crazy. And they're putting up all these cool monument signs, and that area is popping.
Yeah, it's amazing. How many dealers are going to be out there?
There's room for 7. I think they're going to have at least 4 or 5 though, and you already have a couple out there.
That's amazing. Combined with Steel Ridge North and South. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on there, and it's a mix of uses, right?
Yeah, Steel Ridge South on the south side of 370, they've been grading a lot of land for more industrial development, and we keep hearing rumblings about who might be building on 50 acres of industrial space there. It's going to be pretty cool.
The activity there is staggering.
One other Noddle Company's project is Rivers Edge in Council Bluffs, and a company called Front Row Fitness has opened at 4040 Rivers Edge Parkway. They moved from a different location in Council Bluffs, established back in 2016. Nice fitness company. So that whole Rivers Edge development there continues to thrive. It, of course, is connected to downtown Omaha via the Bob Carey Missouri River pedestrian bridge. All right, our friend Jill Anderson is here. She is president of NP Dodge Residential Sales. And, Jill, we were talking about the condition of the housing market, interest rates going up. But I think it's important to remember that on a historical basis, this high interest rate is still not too bad.
I agree. I can't say, in the 70s when I bought my first house, because I'm not that old. But, they have been at 18%. When my husband and I bought our very first house, we actually lived in Arizona for several years. We bought at 7 and didn't blink an eye. So the fact that we're here now, and people are like, well, these, the rates are the highest they've been since 2008. They're still very good. There should not be concern, because as we've talked about, you can refinance. There are other products out there. I'm not a lender, but there's ARMs, portfolio loans. A lot of lenders offer, physician loans depending on your profession. So don't be afraid. Talk to a professional.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, we were talking about that supply, and you talked about a month and a half supply. And yeah, interest rates are going up. We might be in a recession. Who knows? Maybe we're not. But I think one of the things that will help Omaha with the housing market in the next year is a combination of population growth, because there are no indications that we won't continue growing, because we are doing so many good things here economically and quality of life wise, and that existing housing shortage. I think it's going to be fascinating if there's this war between macroeconomic conditions, high interest rates, high inflation, recession, and Omaha keeps growing and attracting people, and we already have a housing shortage. The clash will be fascinating to watch.
Right. Yeah. As we said earlier, the building has to continue. Economists are predicting, looking into late 2023, so a year from now, rates will probably come back down. But if we don't keep building, we'll be back into this, shortage, where last year we were at a point where there was 0.6 months of supply. So that's why we're talking about your house, the neighbor house in your neighborhood that came on the market, and you're like, hey, it was funny, I actually saw a sign.
Yeah, it was weird.
And it was for more than, a couple days, because right now we're averaging 15 days on the market. And that's not to scare any seller who has a house that might be on the market a little longer than that. Again, conditions vary, but we are starting to get back to a normal market.
I think we got kind of jaded there for a while. Yeah. I mean, I certainly see it with the people that have sold homes, and they're still selling at strong numbers.
Correct.
Above ask.
Yep.
So, Jill, you gave us a little bit of a prediction there. You said an economist or some economists said that we could actually see rates possibly go down about a year from now. Right. But in general, when you look into your real estate crystal ball, let's say for the first half of next year, what do you see coming? What are you preparing for?
There's not going to be a significant change from where we are right now. And that's not to scare anyone either, because, as we were kind of talking offline, people move. The common reasons are death, divorce, they're upsizing, downsizing, job relocation. So there are plenty of reasons to sell. There are plenty of reasons to buy. We saw during the pandemic, our homes are our sanctuary, and it's the place we want to come home to at night, relax. Well, during the pandemic, it became our second office, maybe, place where we were teaching kids. The backyard might have become the gym that we used to go to. So those will still exist in people's minds. And at some point, I've got a kiddo that's ready to graduate college. High school and go to college. I'm close to being an empty nester, and we're like, should we move? Should we stay? So those life changes will continually happen. So there's no reason for people to be scared. There's people selling and there's people buying all the time.
Now, before we let you go, Jill, NP Dodge is always looking for talented people who want to become real estate agents. In the current environment, are you still seeing a lot of people who want to adopt that as a new profession? And for those who are, how do you get started? And how do you become an NP Dodge agent?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for saying that, Jeff. During the pandemic, we know a lot of people left their jobs. And a lot of people wanted to get into real estate, which is fantastic. But we always say get into it for the right reasons. It's not the easiest career. But if you love what you're doing, it can be fantastic. To get into it, please just go to npdodge.com. If you scroll down to the bottom, it's really easy. There is a link that says how to get started. And on that note, if you're looking for a different career, but you may not want to be a real estate agent, we have all of our job postings for our company wide on that link. So take a look. You'll be put in touch with the correct person, and we'd love to talk.
Yeah, and despite any economic changes lately, we still need a lot of good quality people at the company.
You're right.
Jill, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a perspective on the real estate market. We'll have you back sometime in the first half of next year.
Sounds great. Do you think Trenton's listening to us? Can I tell him hello?
He might be.
He might be. I think he will.
There might be a bit of a time zone difference, but you never know.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Jill.
Jill Anderson, president of NP Dodge Residential Sales. We're going to take our final break of the hour, and when we come back, Jorge and I are going to bring you lots of things during the Turner Construction Lightning Round, so don't miss any of it. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by NAI, NP Dodge, D&M Roofing and Siding, and Dingman's Collision Center. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And Grow Omaha's back, brought to you by D&M Roofing and Siding and Dingman's Collision Center. It's time for the Turner Construction Lightning Round. Turner Construction is one of the biggest, most powerful, and awesome construction contractors in the world, but they also act like a local contractor here in Omaha, doing projects like retail build-outs and small offices, medium-sized offices, new construction, and then huge projects like the multi-billion-dollar Sarpy County Data Center. Turner employs a lot of full-time workers here in Omaha and is 100% committed to the community, making the community a better place, providing high quality jobs for people. A lot of people in the trades love working for and with Turner because they treat people so well. So we thank Turner Construction for being the Lightning Round sponsor, and we highly recommend Turner Construction to you and your company if you're looking for a high quality builder. Jorge Sotolongo is here, substituting for Trenton. Should we jump into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Coming in November, there's a new coffee shop called Pause, as in like take a pause. It'll be at 7515 Main Street in Ralston. Downtown Ralston's becoming a cool place.
That's cool. I thought maybe Pause was like a dog coffee shop or something.
That's why I said that, because I was afraid people would think the exact same thing. So, Jorge, you are from Puerto Rico.
That's right. I knew this is why you brought me on, just so I could pronounce this word.
I've needed a token Puerto Rican on the show for a few weeks now, and so I've got one. Jorge, although Jorge, you've lived in Omaha since you were 2 years old.
That's
but
right.
Technically, you came from Puerto Rico. We've got a Puerto Rican restaurant coming to South Omaha. It's going to be right across the street from La Solomillo.
Exactly. Chinchorro Caribbean Bistro.
That's why he's here, folks.
Chinchorro, very Puerto Rican word. It's actually means to come together, to eat and kind of pick at different foods. And it's just kind of an informal, like fun way to eat with your family and friends. But Chinchorro Caribbean Bistro, I happen to know the owner, Ellie. She's a phenomenal person. She's a great chef. I can't wait to see her have her own space. She's done a lot of pop-up for years. And yeah, great neighborhood too. South 32nd there by La Solomillo, and then the banquet hall across the street. What a great neighborhood to be in.
Yeah, it is. And this restaurant will open in November. We definitely got to go.
Yes. Well, got to put that on the list.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't wait to try it. And then, as we reported last week, La Sola Mio is coming back to life as The Mio. Different owners, but the new owners are going to have many of the same menu items, including the signature garlic and bruschetta appetizer.
I'm excited. Have they done other concepts? I didn't know that. That was the only thing I didn't know.
Well, they're local entrepreneurs. I know they've got a couple other business ventures, but I'm not sure if they had been in the restaurant world before.
Okay, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it'll be really cool. I can't wait to try it. All right, Green Belly plans to open another location. This one is going to be at 9810 Giles Road in La Vista. Going to be an end cap space of a building that has Swimtastic, swim lessons place. Green Belly, healthy, quick serve restaurant. They have existing locations, 114th and Davenport, 204th and Pacific, and Exarban Village. And then Sinful Burger, which is really popular in Bellevue, has opened a West Omaha location in Harvey Oaks Plaza, 145th and West Center Road. And then, Jorge, everyone loves the George Jetson style building downtown by Central High School. That's where Bike Union and Coffee has been located for some time.
Yes.
It's like the flying saucer, meet George Jetson. And it's 1818 Dodge Street. So Bike Union and Coffee is going to change its name to Astute Coffee. Astute Coffee. And they're going to open up a second location over by Creighton University.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool. And they've dropped the whole bike thing. They're not going to do any bike work anymore. They're just going to be a coffee shop. And I think that's just... My guess is it's probably easier and probably a little more profitable to do coffee than it is work on bikes, would be my guess. Speaking of coffee, Starbucks continues to take over the world. Going to be a location in a former Payless Shoe Source store at 2716 North 90th Street. So let's go look at the riverfront. A little bit north of downtown, the city of Omaha is not renewing the lease for the River City Star and the Dam Grill and Bar. They're going to close permanently this month. Apparently, it's because of land use restrictions imposed by the Miller family, which originally gifted the land to the city some time ago.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
I thought it was going to be the new flood maps or something. I don't know.
You know what?
It's like right there.
It is so funny that you said that, because when I first saw the little news piece floating around, I thought this is the exact same thing.
The damn bar is floating in the middle of the Missouri.
That damn bar is getting flooded. So that's too bad, though, because I know a lot of people enjoyed hanging out by the river.
Yeah, it's a cool spot.
I know that's a little bit frustrating, actually. So we reported a couple weeks ago that there was a new Vietnamese restaurant called, you got to be really careful when you say this, Pho 79. And as it turns out, it's replacing Thai Pepper. And that's a little bit of a bummer to me, because I always liked that Thai Pepper place.
That's a pretty mild title for a Vietnamese restaurant. Just Google a few other ones.
I will. And the music is playing, which means that we are out of time. Jorge Sotolongo, thank you for filling in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We'll have you back. Jorge Sotolongo from NAI NP Dodge. That's it for this week. I'm Jeff Beals. Trenton Maggot has the weekend off. You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Turner Construction, D&M Roofing and Siding, and Dingman's Collision Center. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.